So after the BlizzCon announcement, I'm actually very hyped about World of Warcraft. I think World of Warcraft is in a great space. We have Classic Plus this month. We have Cataclysm Classic, the first half of 2024. We have the new expansion, The War Within, in 1 year time. And we of course have a fresh patch this week, which is going to be very cool to play. We have SOLOQ RPGs, we have Solo Shuffle as we know, 2v2, 3v3, Team RPGs, we have of course Mythic Plus for people that do like to do Mythic Plus, and raids that those people are wanting to do raids as well. So we have many crazy things going into 10.2. And I'm actually very excited. And now I decided to make a tier list talking about the specs I will main or may not main, or at least the ones I would suggest to main going into 10.2. It is mostly a PvP spec tier list, but maybe it will give you ideas for PvE as well. But it is mostly with PvP in mind. I'll be talking about the specs step by step. We have S, A, B, C, and D tier. I'm going to try to do like this. I think it's way better because it will be a lot easier to see. And we're going to talk about every single class and every single spec. Now, as you may see, there is no tank spec in the list because I don't think I'm going to main any tank spec. It's mostly like an extra on the class that I'm going to play. So if I play warrior, I might dip my toes and play protection warrior, but it will never be my main because it's not meant to be, I guess. But people that do want to main a tank, good luck to them. So this is the start of the tier list. Again, I don't really have any real criteria, I would say, but I'm going to write main, alt, maybe, probably not, and nope. Those are my choices currently. There is many specs to discuss, but I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room, which is going to be always the same every single tier list, and it is pretty much I am not going to main any of the evoker specs. I might maybe one day level it to level 70. I'm not even wanting to use my boost to get a level 70 evoker, because again, every time I'm logging in on my evoker, I see that my gear that I'm going to put on my character is not visually appealing to me. So if I have like a sick transmog, a male transmog, I cannot see any of those pieces except the shoulders, I think, and maybe another piece if I'm not mistaken, whenever I am the drag tier form. Whenever I'm the visage form, which is the blood elf kind of like visual, it's only out of combat. Whenever you're in combat, you're forced into that form like Worgens are. So for me, it is just a hard no based on that. It has nothing to do with the power levels of those specs, because I think Augmentation Evoker is definitely an S plus spec, especially in 10.2, because I feel like there's nothing to really change. But also, Preservation Evoker is one of the better healers out there. I think also from what I've seen, it looks fun to play, but I cannot go beyond the hurdle of I don't feel like drag tier feels like a character I want to play and recognize myself. Again, I'm old school. I like to see and be pleased of what I'm playing, and the visuals are very important for me, and Evoker, they don't really have the visuals to me, especially drag tier, I guess. You have add-ons to change it, but I don't want to go for an add-on like a T-Morph or whatever it is called to actually change the appearance of Evoker, because I don't feel connected to, unfortunately. But I'm going to talk now about interesting specs. There's many of them. Affliction Warlock is a very interesting spec going into 10.2 for PvP. We have SOLOQ RPGs where, like I said in my multiple videos, Affliction Warlock is going to be a very, very efficient spec for those kinds of content. You will have soul shuffle, which is not always going to be the most fun aspect for you because you have multiple lobbies where you will not have fun. In 2v2, I feel like it's very dampening. You can win, but again, it's very dampening. You will not finish games very fast. And in 3v3, if you have like a caster cleave, you're going to feel like a fish in a pond, which is a very good thing. Just based on that fact, am I going to main a Warlock? My first impression is I might main a Warlock because I'm always maining a Warlock, but also with SOLOQ RPGs in mind, I do feel like Warlocks are super fun to play first and foremost, are super efficient, super hard carries in those game modes. And it just feels very nice to have control of your own mobility with portals, TPs, with other shenanigans that can actually give you the edge. But also just in general, I feel like you have high impact most of the time, and you are the reason why often the BGs are going to be won, or the arenas are going to be won or lost. So for me, Affliction Warlock is going to be I don't know if it's going to be a main because I have another main in my mind, but I will definitely alt it. It might be a main, but the main will be Destruction Warlock. I'm talking about all the specs at the same time because I feel like there is a lot of crossover here and there, but Destruction Warlock is going to be a very, very strong contender for me to main it. I think a lot of people are going to think about it because, again, throwing a 400k Chaos Bolt onto someone's face is always going to be making you go nuts. And I have also PvP montage videos in mind, and I want to finally finalize a PvP montage video, but I always struggle with the music and with the monetization and the struggles with how YouTube punishes copyright rights. But I feel like Destruction Warlock is very fun. I feel like, again, it has everything from Affliction Warlock, but you have 3 schools of spells. You can actually, like, look, kick me on Shadow, I don't care, we have Fire and Chaos Bolts. You want to kick me on Incinerate, that's all fine, I can spam you Fear and then eventually do double Chaos Bolt on your face. Or if I want to just slam an Infernal on your face with a lot of CC and the possibility to double coil, I want to do that as well. I think the Destruction Warlock currently is in a state of, it's very strong. I hope they do change the talent trees a few times here and there because I feel like you're really shoehorned into one gameplay, but I guess you can also a bit more adventurous on other aspects of the talent trees. But I feel like Destruction Warlock is very fun, and I feel like always, I main a Warlock every single patch, and I feel like this patch is not different. Demonology Warlock is going to be a maybe, but probably not. I do still not like the fact that you're like very pet focused. I feel like I'm jealous of Classic Plus. You can transform into a demon form, which is sad to see because you cannot do that on retail. Something that always was asked from a long time ago, and it is just a shame how they kind of ignore it and go even further down the line of we want to have millions of pets. I guess that's fine, but it does feel like you are not doing anything yourself as a Warlock. I do feel like you could siphon the power of the pets into you and make you way more stronger, but I guess that's not a fantasy that they want to go for, and that's why I'm not really liking the fact that I'm like playing a Demonology Warlock. But the good thing is Warlocks have at least 2 out of the 3 specs good or fun to play, and the third one, Demonology Warlock, for me is not always going to be very fun, or I feel like it's not really the spec that is going to give me the calling of playing every single day, which Destruction Warlock could actually give it to me. But again, I understand that people might not like it. I might stop moving too much because I feel like my camera is like unfocusing every single time. But anyways, let's talk about Warrior. I think it's a very easy one. You guys know me as a Warrior main. I know that Arms Warrior is going to be very fun with the 4 set. It's going to be very fun with Rent. It's going to be very fun with Executes, being able to be procced with sudden deaths with your Rent. I think it's going to be very fun. Like I said, the versatility of a Warrior is very efficient, I would say. In 2v2, you have multiple comps you can play in. In 3v3, you have all the comps able to be played with a Warrior. You have also Soul Shuffle, which again, sometimes you can have a bad lobby with a lot of casters, but often than not, you have multiple melees where you can actually shine. And the same for SOLOQ RPGs. Like I said, it's not really going to be the very hard carry into the game, but it's still going to be there. Look, you are an arms warrior. You have to be dealt with, or else you're going to destroy the lobby. And if you have like a good healer behind you, you can make wonders. And that's actually what is going to be happening and the fun factor behind it. So for me, arms warrior is going to be a main. I wanted to not go for a warrior main in my main like class main video that I did for 10.2, but I changed my mind. I feel like warrior is a safe bet. It's a safe media that you can play. It's very fun, reactive. The force set is very fun. Fury warrior is going to be an automatic alt, although I could main it as well, but I feel like, again, if I'm playing more arms than Fury, it automatically makes arms more main than Fury. Again, it's just also very fun to play Fury sometimes. There are build differences here and there where you can actually have a lot of things tested and played around. But I do feel like arms is more safer in general. But Fury, it's very tough to have a clear indication of power in difference of build, because I feel like the damage is quite the same, but you shift power from an ability to another. So I don't know, but I do feel like you have a lot of potential, and I think it really needs a rework to make it very fun. But I think, again, if you have like a bad day, you play Fury, you can expand a lot of damage, a lot of numbers, and it can give you that dopamine hit that you kind of need to go through your day. So I do like Fury sometimes. And if I want to talk about a spec that is dear to my heart, it would be DKs. And DKs, oh boy, let's talk about Frost DK. Frost DK is interesting because the 4 set is around Chill Streak, and Chill Streak is a fun ability to press, especially since now you can also press it in single target and have a lot of impact. I'm going to put it in maybe because I do like the tier set. It's very fun looking. The 4 set is actually fun to play with Frost Decay. I feel like for Unholy Decay, it's not fun to play around. I really do not like Unholy Decay right now, so it's going to be a probably not. But if I'm playing Decay, it most likely will be a Frost Decay. But for me, it's going to be a maybe, because the only reason is the frustration that a Frost Decay can have in multiple aspects of PvP. I don't talk about world PvP too much, because I feel like world PvP you can make every single spec work, kinda. But Frost Decay in 2v2 is frustrating as hell, because you don't have an MS effect. Now, with the Chill Streak being able to do single target, it might be interesting. But in 3v3, you're shoehorned into like specific comps that are really setupy. In Soul Shuffle, you can have great lobbies, as you can have terrible ones, questioning your life decisions. And those are the games that are going to make you alt F4 very rapidly after the game ended. Not while the game is there, because then you're an AFKer, and we do not like that. So at least make the game go end and then do an alt F4. But I really do not like the randomness that it can bring, because again, it will make you frustrated, especially with queue times. If you have a bad lobby, it does weigh in. Now, the good thing is, in SOLOQ RPGs, I do feel like Frost Decay has high impact, high damage. It's very hard to stop one, because again, you cannot have a weak aura for 10 people around you. 8 people, excuse me, it's 8 versus 8. So all those bells and things that are going on weak auras are way less effective in SOLOQ RPGs, especially if you have like a team fight. If it's a 1v1 or 1v2, I guess it will help you, but in an 8 versus 8 and you have like a big message screaming you Pillar of Frost, you're often going to be overlooking it, because there are multiple things that are going to go on the screen. So officially, SOLOQ RPGs is a godsend for Frost Decays. But I feel like, am I playing a spec solely because of one game mode? And that's why it's giving me the maybe vibe. And again, I'm outspoken. I already said multiple times, it does need a rework. I think it's one of the specs that needs the rework the most. I would say DK is probably the class that needs the rework the most out of all the classes. But the spec, I would say Frost DK is pretty high on the standards of a rework. But again, we are kind of anchored, I would say, with PvE, and PvE somehow, some way, people do like to play Frost DK, how it is currently, but it's a breath style, and we cannot really play breath style of Frost DK in PvP, but it is what it is. Let's talk about mages. Mages, the thing is, I have even 2 level 70 mages. The problem is that it is incredibly fun. You have 3 specs that are very different one of each other. You have arcane mage, which is not very fun to me, but it has its fun things. You have frost decay, which frost mages, which is a standard frost mage, very fun. Glacial spikes, does a lot of damage. You can also play Ice Dance build, you can play a Frostbolt build. You have multiple builds that you can play. You can play like the Kamikaze build, where literally you're going to go melee and try to do a big frost ray and do a lot of damage. Real frost, excuse me. And you have Fire Mage, which is, for me, probably the most fun mage spec of that, because of all the changes that they made for Dragonflight. The issue is, do I need to main a mage whenever I'm actually maining a warlock? I feel like it's doubling down on the fact that I'm playing caster. It does feel like, why are you playing warlock if you're maining a mage, and why are you maining a mage if you're playing a warlock? And that's a weird feeling. That's why I'm going to put it in maybe, maybe alt. I think Fire Mage would be an alt, and then all the rest would be a maybe, because I want to explore Fire Mage. I think Fire Mage in SOLOQ RPGs is insanely fun. If you are like looking for a class, a spec to play in SOLOQ RPGs, I think Fire Mage has one of the higher impacts in the game. I could say the same for Evoker specs, but again, I'm not really a fan of Evoker specs because of all the things I said in the beginning of the video. But Fire Mage is like out of this world. I really like it. And if I weren't a Warlock main by heart since way before everything, I would be playing Mage. But I'm telling myself, look, why play Fire Mage while you also play Destruction Warlock? Do you even have a space for your mains, I would say, to give to Fire Mage, and to not lose the interest of Destruction Warlock, and vice versa? So that's why I'm very on the fence of it, but I do understand that some people do like to play multiple classes, and I would suggest you guys to main it, because I think Fire Mage is very fun. The 4-set is also very fun. I think as a whole you can make it very fun for yourself, and I think it's a fantastic spec that has a little rework done a previous patch, so I think it's currently in a good state. And 2v2, 3v3, all those things are actually always going to be a godsend for mages in general. So I think you're like very well placed into the jack of all trades but master of everything kind of thing, which is a good thing. Now let's talk about shamans, and you guys know me, I am also a shaman main, and you guys know me as a main of everything kind of, because I do make videos about everything and anything, but shaman is one of those classes that I do always play. Excuse me, I had to sip, but shaman is a interesting spec. I played it since pretty much vanilla, whenever I was like playing in a cafe with other people. I literally played a Tauren Shaman, and it is now one of the tunes that I'm playing. Changed name though, but still, it is a fantastic class. I think it's very fun. I think it has versatility beyond everything. Elemental Shaman is very high in my main list. I think you are going to say, but why are you maining Destruction Warlock and Elemental Shaman? I think Elemental Shaman is way different than a Destruction Warlock, at least different enough to feel like I'm not playing the same class. While Warlock and Mage, it kind of is feeling like a primary DPS class, like caster. So it's kind of the same, but Elemental Shaman is a bit different because it's hybrid. It has multiple utilities, it has CC, it has damage, it has multiple schools of spells. I think the 4-set is also very fun to play with. I think as a whole, Elemental Shaman feels like a great class to play, and it is a great class to play. I also think that it's very strong in threes, very strong in Soul Shuffle, and extremely strong in SOLOQ RPGs. The only bracket where I see like Elemental Shaman is not really fun is 2v2 because it is not really a caster bracket. It is very, very dampening. You could play double DPS, but then it's like very random to who you're facing and if you're winning that. So I think it's a main for me. Enhancement Shaman is one of the specs that are going to be also a main with the specs from one class that are also going to be a main because I think it's way different. I do play Enhancement Shaman generally a lot, every single patch. I'm also still saying that they need a rework because they do need a rework. I feel like it's fun enough to say, look, I'm maining one. Who am I maining more though? I would say Elemental Shaman because I feel like it's more safe for everything that I'm doing. But Enhancement Shaman, I think it's going to be very fun to do SOLOQ RPGs because it is completely different. I'm going to say in normal team RPGs, Enhancement Shaman is way beyond the popularity thing. It's like you're not taken, you are despised. If you're like Enhancement Shaman and they see that, they generally kick you if it's a pug. It's just not there. But SOLOQ RPGs will open you at least the doors into, or put your foot like between the door and the door. So basically it's going to give you the opportunity to play and have fun with the character. Soul Shuffle, it's very lobby dependent, but it can have good lobbies. And 2v2, I feel like you can play double hybrid pretty much and do a lot of damage and a lot of healing, and survivability is okay. And threes, you have some comps that are going to work better than others, but again, I feel like it's versatile enough to have fun. They have multiple builds. You can play full mastery, you can play full haste. Pretty much you can test a lot of things. And I'm looking forward to playing Enhancement in 10.2. In 4-set, I'm not really liking it, but some people do. I don't. So again, if I'm playing Elemental Shaman, I will have it in 4-set, so I will be testing, but I think if you have a choice between not playing in 4-set and playing the 4-set, I would say do not play the 4-set with Enhancement Shaman, at least in PvP. At least that's my opinion around it. Restoration Shaman is one of the healers that are going to be interesting to alt because you're playing already to double DPS, so why not alt the Restoration Shaman? It might be a maybe though because it highly depends on the amount of people I'm going to main or alt. Again, it's also a suggestion video. If you want to main a Restoration Shaman, it is very, very likely that you're going to love it. Does a lot of damage as well. You have high impact tools, but again, it depends on meta if you're going to be like a S tier kind of caster or if you're going to be a C tier kind of caster. Personally, I kind of like it, even whenever it's like very, very low healing and it's not really high on the tier list. I still love playing one, so I feel like it's a more of a alt than a maybe, but I'm going to put it a maybe for now until I see the other specs. So we're going to discuss monks really quickly. I think monks are particular enough to say that I'm not really interested in playing one. I think the healing one is just not fun. I'm going to say probably not. I just don't like the style of healing. Fist weaving is either OP to obnoxious or useless. There's no really in-betweens. Often not, if it's in between the Fist Weaver, they get destroyed because it is in between and it's like a mix of multiple things that are not really working with each other, or it is OP and then everyone hates your guts. But I don't like it. I feel like it's not really meant to be for me. I also don't like the lore as well. So there's multiple things that are actually pushing and shoving me away from the specs. It might be because I'm also bad at it, but I think I can't get better on something that I'm not liking, I guess. And multiple things, and multiple people actually think the same, I guess, for multiple specs. Maybe they don't like warrior and that's why they're not good at it. and I think it's okay to have that, because I'm, for example, not good at monk, because I don't like them fantasy. I don't like to do multiple things with those specs. Windwalker monks, it's a hard nope. I just don't like the spec. I also don't like the set. I also don't like the feeling of the spec. It just is not for me. I understand that people will like Windwalker. I do see a Windwalker and say, oof, I wish I was that at that split second. But then I'm reminded of how I need to play and how it's played and how I don't feel like it's a very fun spec. So I'm not touching it. I am quite sure about it. So again, if you guys think otherwise, please do comment below so I can actually discuss with you guys. I think it's a very fun thing to have as a whole, as a community, to discuss with each other about everything and anything. Let's talk about Disc Priest in general. Disc Priest is probably one of, if not the most fun spec out there for PvP. I think everyone that has played a Disc Priest and the Disc Priest meta, for example, they really enjoy their time, because you have multiple ways to play one. You can play very passively, you can play a very aggro one, you can even like have a lot of killing blows as a Disc Priest in arenas and in PGs. I also feel like Disc Priest is one of the better SOLOQ RBG healers currently. They do get nerfed here and there on the damage, because I think in PvE it is obnoxious, but I do understand that. But the problem is, in PvP the metas are quite different. But I hope that Disc Priest is going to be good, because I'm definitely going to alt one. I don't think it's going to be like a main, because I feel like I have currently a lot of mains. Currently I have already 3 classes that I'm putting in mains. So you need to understand that I have like limited spots, but I do understand that you guys want a main. Again, it's a subjective video. You could have a whole different list, but what I want is that you put in the comments your own list of mains and alts, or even maybe it's probably not on nope, and I'm going to judge you guys on that list. Again, it's friendly banter, so I'm saying that it's garbage. It is garbage, but it is friendly banter, right? Because it's subjective. You could say the same for my list, by the way. I think we can have some interaction with that. Disc Priest, fantastic, does damage, interactive. I think it's really high APM as well, action per minute. So I think it's also not boring to play. You can play very aggressive in BGs, you can play very aggressive in arenas. 2v2 it's very interesting, 3v3 it's very interesting, Soul Shuffle it's very interesting. So you have multiple things going on that makes it very interesting to play as a Disc Priest. Shadow Priest is going to be a maybe. It is actually a very fun caster. I do like whenever it's very strong, but I do also like it whenever it's an underdog. Also, I like the fact that I need to cast. I know it's a very hot take from me. I like when casters love to cast to deal damage. I think having casters want to cast is actually a good thing. Now they need to give tools to the players to be able to not get kicked as easily as it is right now for Shadow Priest, but it means that if you have to cast, you're going to obliterate the enemy whenever you can have the cast off. And I think the Shadow Priest has a lot of damage, a lot of CC, it has high impact. As a whole, you can decide the fate of a game just by yourself. You have a lot of utility, you can save with Void Swap like very easily and very fun. So I think Shadow Priest is a contender of my alts, because then again I'm playing Disc Priest, so why not Shadow Priest? But it depends on the amount of spots I have as a whole, like class-wise. Holy Priest will be a probably not, because I just do not really like the healing from a Shadow Priest. As a whole, I'm okay with it, but as a Holy Priest, excuse me, but I think Holy Priest is just not my cup of tea compared to Disc Priest. Let's talk about Hunters. I think Hunters is a hot topic, because again, I am also quite, I'm not going to say known, many people do know me, I would say, as a guy that makes guides for Hunter specs, mostly PM Hunters. I think it's a fun spec to play. I think it's a fun class to play as a whole. But I'm having an issue with the amount of changes that we have as a whole since the beginning of Dragonflight. I think like we are like one of the classes that has the least amount of changes, or we have things that are removed but not compensated. Like for example, hunters with double tap, but they do get like double tap on the 4 set. But again, why would you not just give us double tap again? But that's my opinion. I feel like they remove it to just put it back with a passive, which can proc multiple times, but it is what it is. So let's start with Survival Hunter. I think I'm going to probably not main one, because I feel like it is fun, but it's not going to make me want to play every single day whenever I'm maining one. For different reasons, right? I feel like maybe I'm not good enough on it, or maybe I feel like I have other classes that I have way more fun and I'm way more proficient at it. I'm someone very transparent. Whenever I see like a class and I feel like I'm not that good on it, or I feel like I cannot really get better on it, I immediately drop it very fast, because I feel like, why force myself to play something that maybe I don't like, or maybe I cannot perform, while I could play something that I like currently. So again, it's a game. I feel like I'm not wanting to force myself into a spec that I do not like. I don't have the time for it, so I prefer to play something that I'm safer on it, like commitment wise, but also fun wise. So I think that's why I'm going to put it on probably not. BM Hunter is maybe with together, because it depends about the amount of mains or alts I will have. I think it's very much the same as in 10.0. So again, I know what I can expect. There are a few changes, like for example, the 4 sets for both specs, but also the changes on the balance on the Beast Mastery tree are interesting. But again, they should like change something fundamental on BM hunters to make me feel like, oh damn, that something is really weird, or it's new or fresh. Right now we don't have that, so I feel like I'm going to put it in maybe. I know I could probably put it in probably not or nope, but I feel like Hunter is one of the classes that I always like to play anyways, so I feel like it would be disingenuous for me from to put it lower than that, because I feel like it's not, right? Let's talk about Paladins. Why not? I think Paladin is a good topic. I think Holy Paladin. I could say probably not, but I'm going to put in maybe, because I do like the few builds that you can have as a Holy Paladin. I think I'm going to put it a bit lower. I think it has some redeeming factor, having probably the best rework since Dragonflight as a whole. I think Holy Paladin takes the cake with Retribution Paladin. I think they know what they're doing right now, and it's very fun to play one. I think it's also high impact in SOLOQ RPGs, in Solo Shuffle, in 2v2, in 3v3. Also in World PvP you can even play a Shokadin kind of thing, where you can destroy someone with Denounce. It is a fun spec. Now, I feel like, am I going to commit a lot of time on it? I don't know about it. It really depends on the final few stretches of 10.2, I would say. But it's not going to be a priority for me. Retribution Paladin might be an alt. I think you can have dumb fun with it. It's also very efficient in solo RPGs, which is going to be very much played by me. We have also Soul Shuffle. You have multiple ways that you can play as a Retribution Paladin, but I feel like the spec trees are quite frozen, because it's very clear that you have like a very single target focused build, a more AoE focused build, and in the middle you have like a regen of holy power, or expanding on the Wake of Ashes kind of ability. So again, I'm on the fence. I could make it in main, but then again, do I have the time to put it as a main? Do I want to make time for it? That's all like a different discussion. So for me, it's going to be a alt, but I might put it in the main if I really want to play a Retribution Paladin at the end of the day. Let's talk about Druids. I think it's easier to talk about Druids. No, let's talk about the Demon Hunters. I think Demon Hunter is going to be a probably not. Um, Case being, I'm maining a warrior, so I feel like why am I going to like spend extra time on a DH while I already have a warrior? And I feel like DH is also not really going to be my cup of tea as a whole because it just is what it is. At the end of the day, I have maybe a connection with a certain amount of specs classes since the OG days, but I do feel like DH is not one of them. And even though they have a rework and it looks cool, I do feel like it's still not a class for me. Druids, Restoration Druid. If I want to main a healer, it would be a Resto Druid. I think the buffs to the damage abilities that you have, to having Heart of the Wild, PvP talent, where you can have like a shift where you're getting the buff for 10 seconds, is going to be fantastic. I think you can have a lot of fun. It's very high paced. I think you have some redeemable factor here and there. It's also very strong, let's be honest. But I think this patch is really a druid patch, and it's also fitting to have one of them being my mains going forward in 10.2. Balanced Druid and Feral Druids. Now, Balanced Druid is going to be an alt with Feral Druids being also an alt. There is a chance where I'm going to say, look, maybe I'm going to main one of these two specs, but it really depends if I want to learn those specs at the perfection, because I feel like Feral Druid is very hard to play because it is. And Balanced Druid is also very hard to play, but it's a bit easier because, again, you can macro a lot of stuff that are going to be very interesting for you to actually expand. Also, kind of like the mastery change. I also like the change that they made wherever they wanted. And it was actually a very good thing. I think for all druids, again, you can have a lot of fun with it, but it depends highly on the commitment that I want to put for the spec going into 10.2. Last but not least, the reworked class, which is Rogue. I think Rogue is a high impact class just in general, in 2s, in 3s, in Soul Shuffle, and SOLOQ RPGs. In SOLOQ RPGs, being a rogue is going to be fantastic. I think it's very fun. I think Assassination Rogue is one of the most fun specs out there. I made a video about it. I think it's a very fun spec. I'm going to put it in main because I do want to main a rogue. But I don't know how hard I'm going to main one. And you see I already have 5 mains because we count Elemental Shaman Enhanced together with multiple sub-specs. Now you have some alts that are not mains, so I have to decide if I want to alt one or not. And I have the sweet spot, which is 5 characters. Those are my like usual numbers for mains, and then we have like alts where I'm going to make a video about it, or I'm going to talk about it, or I'm going to play about it. But those are like the specs that I'm like extra with it. But for example, Outlaw Rogue is going to be a probably not. I think it's not my cup of tea. I don't like the fantasy of Outlaw Rogue. I feel like I kind of miss Combat Rogue back in the day, but I guess there are reasons why it's not there anymore. I wish they had like a 4 spec with combat again. You could have Sinister Strike being still a thing, but no more priority stuff. That would be actually a very fun thing to have, but it is what it is at the end of the day. But for now, I'm going to put it in probably not. I might tip my toes into it, but I think Assassination Rogue is going to be still my main thing, with Sub Rogue being my alt. And for obvious reasons, right? I'm maining Assassination Rogue. I think you still need to expend a lot of time on the Rogue to be proficient at it, especially as Sub Rogue. I think this is a highly quality list for me. I think it's quite obvious. We're maining a Warlock, we're maining a Warrior, we're maining a Shaman, we're maining a Druid, and a Rogue. I think that's also a great combination. Now, there are a few things that are interchangeable. For example, Assassination Rogue could be a lower alt kind of thing, and we could have a Mage or Disc Priest into my mains. Retribution Paladin is also a possibility of having it as a main, but then again, it depends on what I want to achieve in game. I think hunters, unfortunately, they're not going to be mained. Probably they're going to be out. My ideas that are right now like in my mind, it could always change, but right now I do know that I'm going to not main a few specs. For example, evoker classes like evoker, DH, monk, those are all out of the question. And then I have a maybe DK, which is very much like a probably not, but it's going to be a little maybe. We have, for example, hunters, which are also going to be a maybe, and disc priest with shadow priest, it's also going to be very much a maybe, and depends on the amount of willingness I have to actually be competitive on multiple classes or specs. But this is pretty much my list. I want to know, again, it's a shout out to you guys. Please comment below what your list of mains and alts are, your reasoning behind it, and also your classes that you're definitely not going to play and the reason behind it. I want to talk with you guys. I want to discuss with you guys about the tier list that you have in your mind. Let me know your tier list in the comment section below. Again, it's subjective. It's not making you guys know that someone is OP or not, because I feel like the nobs are quite OP. I think evokers like augmentation and preservation evokers are going to be very strong in 10.2. Devastation is a meme in different KMOs, but I think in SOLOQ RPGs it can shine. So this is not an indication of a S tier spec. I'm also not FOMOing into a S tier spec because it's not my nature. I like to play my specs that I do like to play. And of course, whenever a rework is up there, I'm always the one that is going to start testing it and see if it's going to be very fun. But I have like a preset of classes that I'm always going to be very loyal to. I think Warrior, Warlock, Shaman is going to be always my top 3. And then I have like Druid, which right now is very fitting with 10.2, but I feel also that there is always a connection with me and Druid. And Rogue is going to be like dumb fun. It's very fun to be like stealth and assassinate someone. So this is my list. Again, if you want to check out the news about Classic Plus or the latest news about the Dragon Soul, the World Soul Saga, please click one of those videos up there, this way probably, and let me know what you think about it. And again, thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.